So we're almost done with this section, okay? We're on, okay, so for this section on functions, I want to finish off by just showing how you can get the domain and range from the graph of a function, okay? How you can get the domain and range from the graph of a function. All right, so let's do that. You want to remember that with a graph, since we have y as a function of x, right? Since we have y as a function of x, the domain is the portion of the x-axis that's either under or above the graph. So again, it's the part of the x-axis that's either above or below, excuse me, it's either under or above the graph. And for the range, that's the part of the y-axis. Again, this is since y is a function of x. So y, the variable y holds the output. So the range is the portion of the y-axis that's either to the left or the right of the graph. That's the portion of the y-axis that's to the left or the right of the graph. All right. So that's what happens here. So here's an example. Let me get the color. Let me get the pen, so to say. Let me see. Oh, yeah, let's do this one. So for this one, you want to imagine taking the graph, and you can imagine projecting it up or down onto the x-axis, right? So let's say we're over here, right? We're going up to the x-axis, so we're at -3, right? Up to the x-axis, keep going up, okay? Up, vertical lines, okay, bear with me. So here the x-axis is above the graph. Here, actually, let me do this. That's all right. Here the x-axis is below the graph, okay? As you can see, right? The x-axis here is below. And basically, we keep on doing this. I know it takes a little imagination, especially with the way I draw. My handwriting is not the best, I understand. Here we go. So hopefully you can see visually that the graph is, that the domain, by projecting it onto the x-axis, is between -3 and 4. So in other words, it's the interval from -3 to 4. I mean, you can also imagine, I guess, if you want, let me get the laser pointer here. You can also imagine if you're on the x-axis, you're walking along the graph, and oh, yeah, the graph is below the x-axis, excuse me. See? Below where you're walking. Keep on walking, keep on walking. Oh, you're on the graph now, and the graph is below, and you're below the graph, excuse me. The graph is above you. See the graph anymore, so the domain must have stopped here. So you could also imagine it that way if you want. Okay. I mean, hopefully that made sense what I did, but that's how you can get the domain. Now you're moving over to the x-axis. Okay. You're moving over to the horizontally, right? So hopefully you can see from this that we started at -8, right? And by moving it horizontally onto the y-axis, you can see that we're going to hit everything from -8 all the way up to 6, it looks like, as you can see. Okay. So I know it does take a little bit of what do you call it? Visualization. Couldn't think of the word. You know, projecting onto the y-axis. I mean, if you wanted also, you can imagine walking along the y-axis. Oh, the graph's to the left. We see the graph. You can see the graph on the left side. We're on the graph. Now we see the graph to the right, to the right. We keep on seeing it, and if you go above 6, the graph is gone. You don't see it to the left or right. So you must have hit, so the range stops at 6, in other words. I mean, I hope that made sense, but you could, hopefully you can see from here, the range is from -8 to 6. Okay. Are there any questions about that? Yeah, I was going to do another example as well. Okay. So for the domain now, okay, for this example, right, here, where's the laser? Here we go. Again, you have to use a little visualization, right? You're on the graph, and you can imagine either looking down or projecting down onto the x-axis. You're at -4, right? You can imagine, oh boy, looking down onto the x-axis. Oh boy. See? As you can see, and you basically keep on doing this. I mean, I don't want to take up too much time doing this, but you can see, at least I hope you can, although these aren't on the graph. There we go. Okay. I mean, I hope at least that you can see that you're going to get the domain, excuse me, is going to go from -4 all the way up to 2. -4 all the way to 2. Okay? So that's what the domain's going to be, as you can see. At least I hope you can see that. Okay? All right. Now for the range, though, here, it's the same idea, except now you have to move horizontally, right? Okay, so here, we're at one edge, so to say, and imagine moving horizontally. Okay, so we're at 4, all the way to the 3, right? You keep on going. That's not quite, that's actually, it wasn't quite 3, although I guess that's closer. See? Keep on moving horizontally. Use your imagination. These are supposed to be line segments to the y-axis, okay? As you can see. Good. Like so. Okay. All right, well, hopefully you can see that, maybe not the last line. Let me erase that. That's gonna not upset me, but it's gonna not help. It's gonna hurt my lecture. As you can see, hopefully you can see that the range is gonna go from 1 all the way up to 4, right? Hopefully you can see that. Again, I'm trying to illustrate by projecting these horizontal line segments, the loose sense of the word, that the range goes from 1 to 4. Again, you want to imagine taking the graph and pushing it on, or squishing it, maybe, no, projecting it, that's a better word, projecting it onto the y-axis. You know, you're looking at all the possible y values, so to say. And so hopefully from that, you can see that the domain is the interval from -4 to 2, right? And with the range, again, on the y-axis, is the interval from 1 to 4. I mean, I really hope that makes sense. So, okay. Are there any questions about this one? I was going to do another one and then let everyone try one. All right, so now here, right? Let's do this one. Let's look at the domain first, okay? So let me get that wonderful pen right here. So again, for the domain, what do? We have to imagine taking the graph and pushing it down onto the x-axis and seeing what we cover, like so, okay? Like so. Like so, we imagine doing that, putting it down onto the x-axis, right? And again, hopefully you can see that from -3 so far, we're in the domain, right? Because that's under the graph. Here, imagine drawing it onto the x-axis. Let me keep on going, almost there, get this out of the way. There we go. Hopefully you can see from here that the domain, right, is going to be everything from -3 all the way, oh, this is bad, all the way to 2. I mean, it's right what I did. It's the domain's from -3 to 2. It's just my drawing is not that good. So it's hard to draw with a mouse. So try and be a little patient with me. Okay. Okay. But now let's do the range. Let me just get back to the lecture notes. So what I'm going to do now is the range. Now, let me see. I think I might have to erase this, but hopefully you can see that the domain is from -3 to 2. Okay, again, that's what we're covering. Hopefully you can see by drawing these almost vertical lines, segments, okay, to the x-axis, you can see that the graph is above or below the entire interval, -3 to 2. Okay, let me erase that though. What slide am I on? This one, here we go. Okay, now, there we go. That one, okay. If you can't see the slides, just let me know. But now what I want to do is I want to do the same kind of drawing, but now I'm going to draw it to the y-axis, right? Again, we want to see what portion of the y-axis is to the right or left of the graph. Okay, so you have to draw these, oh my goodness, horizontal line segments. Okay, drawing with a mouse, so bear with me. But hopefully you can see though that you're going to have everything from 2.5 below, right? Below this, below, and you keep on going, right? You can see everything from this point, this intersection point, so to say, the y-intercept, above the 2.5, all this is part of the range, right? Now we're going to be below it, right? Below it, all the way over to -3, right? So in other words, we're going to include this part, okay? So in other words, the range is going to be from -3 up to 2.5. Smaller numbers on the left when you write the interval, -3 to 2.5, as you can see. Hopefully you can see. All right. Do you have any questions about this? Not that one yet. Not there yet. All right. Okay, so for the next one, this one, I just want everyone to try a bit. So I'm going to do is stop the recording. Take about like 3 minutes.